Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, so many of you know it has been a red hot real estate market pretty much across the country, but especially here in Las Vegas. And there's been talk of a bubble, and so we have noticed some signals that the market is starting to slow down. Now a signal is something that happens that repeats, that is consistent, that you start to see more and more. Just like when we first started seeing multiple offers. Now we're seeing other signals that show that the real estate market is starting to cool down a little in Las Vegas.
Right.
Okay, so what are one of the signals that you have seen recently?
So we've had this situation where properties have had multiple offers and sellers have had their pick of the litter, so to speak. And sellers have had the opportunity to pick the highest offer. Now that highest offer was over list price, regardless of appraised value, and all kinds of wonderful bells and whistles. And so they've been accepting these offers. But the thing that I've noticed recently is that they're accepting these offers, the properties are going into contingent status, and a few days later they're back on the market. And then they go to the next highest offer, and they go back into contingent status, and then of course a few days later they're back on the market again. So what's happening is these buyers are getting buyer's remorse. So these sellers have been collecting offers and they've been accepting the highest offers, and now they're having to go down the ladder, so to speak, of their offers to find an offer that will actually stick. Now sellers are getting so discouraged by these buyers backing out that they're resorting to some pretty draconian tactics. I actually had a seller tell me, well, not a seller, but a listing agent tell me that the seller was charging a $2,500 fee to get the offer accepted, and that $2,500 would be released to the seller at the open of escrow and was non-refundable to the buyer, because that seller has had so many buyers back out. This is not unique. We're seeing more and more of this. So when this happens, that tells us that there is a certain softening of the market, that maybe buyers are having a reality check, that sellers are pushed in kind of in the same direction to have a little bit of a reality check as to what buyers are actually willing to do once they get that offer accepted. So this is an indication to us, a signal, as Todd said, that the Las Vegas market is starting to maybe cool down just a little bit.
Yeah, in a really hot market, you don't have this happen. You don't have, usually, it gets overbid and then whoever gets it is just thrilled to have it because there's really no inventory. But some of the things that are happening, and we talked about this before, are that you have this frenzy where buyers and the agents representing them are sort of going out there and making a bunch of offers. And so they may have been the best offer on 3 properties, but the third one was the one they really wanted. Like, that's the one they really wanted to get. But they're already under contract on these other 2, so they just back out because of due diligence. That's something most people don't realize, is that buyers can just back out and say, hey, I didn't like the neighborhood, I didn't like the HOA rules and regulations, they can get out and they go get another house. So you have people making multiple offers on multiple properties, and it feeds the frenzy that makes people believe, oh my God, the market's really hot, it pushes up prices. And it does push up prices. Now, this is what happens. When prices get artificially pushed up, it's not a bubble, okay? Well, it's sort of a bubble, but it's not a bubble that can crash. Meaning, what happens is you just have disequilibrium, and it goes back to equilibrium. So you just go back to where you were. What happens in a crash is the market goes up and crashes way below what it was before. Like we saw in 2008-9, when the market crashed to like the median home price was 135 and it had been 310 before, right? And so it went from like this 2-something level up to 310, 315, crash down to 135. What we're likely to see is potentially a soft landing where prices level off and the market catches up. They dip down a little, but it's interesting to see this because this is a signal that it's a frenzy that people are starting to get tired of. Market forces have kicked in. Some extra people have come on the market, put their houses, like we talked about, to help fill that the supply side of the equation. So it's definitely a sign that the market is cooling when you see sellers or buyers backing out, sellers going down the list, taking offers for less money.
Right. The other thing is, remember, we just had some announcements in the news as far as on the political front. So there's a possibility that 1031 exchanges at a certain price level are going to go away. So there will possibly be more inventory coming on the market, people wanting to take advantage of the last gasp of the 1031 exchange, which will bring more properties on the market in the short term. In the long term, that's left to be determined. Maybe people who don't take advantage of the last gasp of the 1031 exchange will decide to hold their properties much longer than they otherwise would have. So we do have this possibility of increased inventory in the next few months.
Yeah, the things that have caused the disequilibrium in the Las Vegas market and across the country are not necessarily long-term structural problems. I mean, we don't have a terrible economy where jobs are declining and wages are declining. We don't have that. We don't have overbuilding. We don't have underbuilding. We don't have a ridiculous secondary lending market that we had before. We don't have any of these things. We have the COVID and the hiccup of what that caused, and the work from remote, and some other things that have sort of created this perfect little storm. But I say it's a perfect little storm. So it's actually good that the market's cooling off a little bit, because that's gonna, when we get back to normal, I think, and I predict it's gonna happen here pretty soon. Probably, these things tend to not happen more than a year, and this started in July of last year, and that's only a couple months away. So I think in a couple months, people are gonna stop talking about how crazy the market is.
It's possible.
Yeah. This is a good signal. This is actually a good signal, and we're seeing other things too. Homes staying on the market now a little longer, not instantly, getting a ton of offers. Yeah.
Right. So the market is still pretty tight. The inventory is still pretty low. Homes are still selling relatively quickly, but we are seeing just a little bit of a softening, and that's just a natural market evolution of what's been happening. It's nothing to get excited about, but we thought we'd bring this to you and to your attention, and we want to find out what's happening in your market. How are things changing, or have things stayed the same? What's going on? Share with us in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the videos, please subscribe, and we'd love to hear from you.
All right, bye.